Good morning, Los Angeles. And I do mean that tongue in cheek. I hate waking up in the mornings, but this goes to show you how much we love you. Welcome back for the 332nd episode. Certainly not time that I've lost track of. This is Defenders of the Bank, and this will be the Sporting Kansas City recap episode. And what a road thumping of SKC it was. Said it on One More Sleep the other day. Kansas City had some fantastic barbecue, and well, I wasn't lying. Literally and metaphorically, as LAFC made barbecue out of SKC, smoking them like a brisket, meat well done, cooked quite candidly, and devoured. Blue hell was turned into black and gold hell for the supporters at Children's Mercy Park. How sweet it is to be cooked by us. But before we get down to brunch and say bon appetit and cheers, we got to gain a recap. My name is Christian, filling in the soon to once again be platinum-haired flamingo, but for the now slightly aptly pink flamingo. And I'm joined by the mouth of the South Bay, J.R. Liebert.
The Scarf, what's good, Defenders Nation? Good morning, everybody, and welcome to everybody in the chat. Love how active the chat is this early in the morning. We wanted to get this to you a little bit earlier, but you know what? We're here, and we are ready to talk about 3 more points at this time, courtesy of Sporting Kansas City, as our win streak hits 4. Somebody on this podcast predicted a 3-0 win, I think. Scarf Stradamus strikes again. Loving it. And look, this is everything that we thought it would be. A Peter Vermees team that pretty sadly, especially in the second half, just kind of rolled over. They had 1 or 2 good opportunities, but LAFC had 5 or 6 that we didn't capitalize on. And for a moment, Denis Bouanga was all of us watching the game, which we'll talk a little bit more about here on episode 332. Philly, area code 332. An area that you and I are both, but you likely more than I, very familiar with. Area code 332, Manhattan, New York.
So I am not familiar with area code 332 because that is a new thing.
That's true.
It was started years after I left New York and moved out here. And technically it encompasses the 212, which was Manhattan, the 646, and the 917. So this is a new thing. New York, obviously a city of many, the biggest city in the United States. I guess they ran out of 212s to dish out. So this 332 thing is relatively new, but apparently it covers Staten Island, Sunnyside, Woodside, and Astoria. For those of you who aren't in the know, that's Queens, closer to Manhattan, and also the 4 counties of New York County, Richmond County, Queens County, and Kings County. So yeah, it's a new thing, Scarf. I don't know anybody with a 332 area code.
Yeah, it's the 424 for you familiar with Los Angeles area codes out there. There was 310 and 213, but then 424 kind of came around, and that was about it. We're getting an update there from Ben Skolnick on the Bayern match. We certainly have a lot of Bundesliga happening. We have a lot of American football about to kick off in about 10 minutes. But you know what? Thank you guys all for sticking around, watching this episode. If you're on YouTube and if you get us any other way, we appreciate, whether it's on Twitter or Spotify or Google Podcasts or obviously anywhere else that you access Defenders. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Absolutely. So I don't really have too much in the way of news and notes, man. Like you said, it's football, it's baseball playoffs, it's all kinds of good stuff. And that just reminded me, while you go through your This Day in LAFC history, I need to make sure I set up my fantasy lineup because my unlucky self has Richardson from the Colts. He's out. And Herbert on a bye. I need a quarterback. You carry on. I'll be right back.
Yeah, you set your fantasy football lineup while I get This Day in LAFC history going. Look, yesterday, October 5th, it was a great day in LAFC history because we got 3 points against Sporting on our way to hopefully clinching at least 4th place now in the Western Conference table, soon to be 2nd with just 1 or 2 extra points. But let's talk about today. If you are listening to this live October 6th, good Lord, October 6th, 2024. Well, let's look back on October 6th in LAFC history And if we go back to our very first season, October 6th of 2018 is where we clinched our first playoff berth with a 3-0 win over Colorado Rapids. We became the 4th expansion side to make the playoffs and the 2nd expansion side, coached by Bob Bradley, to make the playoffs after the Chicago Fire in 1998 won MLS Cup. It was a brace from Adama Diomande in the 42nd and 48th minute, preceded by a Walker Zimmerman goal in the 15th, backing Tyler Miller's 10th clean sheet of the season. We will bring up Tyler Miller's 10 clean sheets from 2018 again in the podcast. And Carlos Vela, Adama Diomande, and Diego Rossi becoming the first trio to score 10 or more goals for a club in their inaugural season. An amazing win and getting us into the playoffs. And then the next year, on the same day, we faced the Colorado Rapids again in what was supposed to be the final MLS match of Tim Howard's storied career. And we will never forget what happened in that match. LAFC winning 3-1 at the bank. And it was all 3 goals, the hat trick for Carlos Vela, who set the MLS single season record with combined goals and assists with 49, 34 goals, 15 assists in his record-breaking season. That's when LAFC set the MLS regular season points record with 72, a goal differential of 48 on the season, and we tied the MLS regular season goals record with 85. Oh my goodness, what a match. And by the way, in the Scarf memorabilia collection, I do own Carlos Vela's jersey from that day where he broke the scoring record. It is in the collection, and it will remain there for forever. Philly, more importantly, do you have a quarterback?
I do. I was able to pick up Huntley from Miami. So he's going to get the start today against the Patriots at Foxborough. So I picked him up. But you want to talk about a bad week? Jefferson didn't put up that many points against the Jets. I had Bucky Irving of the Tampa Bay Bucks. He was okay. But out I have Richardson. We're able to have 2 quarterbacks in this league. So no Richardson, no Herbert, no Taylor from the Colts, no Smith because he's got to buy, no Ingram. It's just going to be a lousy fantasy football.
Well, there you go. Yeah. By the way, thank you for Ben Skolnick keeping our Tyler Miller count going. We're currently at 5. This may even count as 6 because we're talking about it now, but we will bring him up one more time. Just want to remind everybody before we get into the Sporting Kansas City recap.
It certainly does suck.
It certainly does suck. Sunday, October 6th. That's today at 1 p.m., you guys. Do you want to watch NFL football? Some of you, sure. But why not tune in to LAFC 2's final match of the regular season before they hit the MLS Next playoff trail for the very first time? They play Sporting Kansas City 2, formerly called Swope Park Rangers, but they are now SKC 2, 1 p.m. If you get over to LAFC 2's YouTube page, you can watch it there. The last match of the regular season for LAFC 2. And as a reminder, for all your ACFC needs, be sure to listen to the Angel City Chicks and to follow at Angel City Chicks on all your social media platforms. Happy anniversary, Imelda and Ben.
Ooh, what are you doing in this chat then, Ben? Your 6th wedding anniversary and you're hanging out with us? Lord knows that's a punishable offense.
No. They say for the 6th anniversary, you listen to a podcast with your wife. That's the gift.
Right. Because nothing says romanticism's quite like listening to Philly and the Scarf on a Sunday morning.
Listen, the sultry baritones of Philly and the Scarf. There you go.
Yeah, right. All right. Say we get into things. Like I said, I don't have too much in news and notes. You got anything, or do we start?
No, man. We're starting on the 8th match in 29 days.
8th match in 29 days, which means this is our 16th podcast with y'all in 29 days. We've been recording a lot of podcasts, man. I think between this, we did a really awesome show with our buddy Andy Deosa, Kicking in the Reel. We talked about the LAFC, obviously our origin story with Defenders, a little bit about the Mets. Andy was a writer for the Boston Globe, Yahoo Sports, Major League Soccer, Apple, just to name a few periodicals. And we've known him for a number of years just by meeting him in the press conference. So we got to have fun along and hang out with him. He's just covering the beautiful game. He's from Providence, Rhode Island, so he doesn't necessarily have an affiliation to any LA team here, but heck of a writer, always asks great questions in the press conference, and obviously a good friend of ours. So check out Andy. Scarf, I think this is like the 8th podcast I've recorded this week. This is getting kind of wild. But LAFC playing 8 matches in 29 days, and they really put the nice exclamation point mark on this because they finally get a break after this game against Sporting Kansas City, heading over to the Pacific Northwest and across the border to play Vancouver. But we've been quite busy. LAFC's been quite busy, and there was something else I wanted to say. I forgot. But anyway, let's get into it.
Yeah, and real quick, guys, stick around at the very end. We will talk about the permutations in the Western Conference standings. You'll be able to get a very clear picture about what LAFC has to do over these next 2 matches. We can talk about first place through 4th place. It's going to be really hard for LAFC not to finish at least 3rd. And I imagine we're going to clinch 2nd in the next relative future. But I'm telling you, stick around after. We can go through all the permutations. But for now, for the 13th time in MLS regular season play, and of course the 14th time overall, LAFC takes on Sporting Kansas City, that 14th being the U.S. Open Cup final earlier this year. Philly 8-4-2 against them in our lifetime, but 6-0-2, undefeated in our last 8 matches against Sporting. Just as good as we have needed to be against this club.
I mean, yeah, they haven't beaten us, and I feel like I've been regurgitating this. This will probably be the 6th time I've said that this season because we've done, what, at that point, 6 podcasts about that. They haven't beaten us since 2021, so it's been quite some time. Now, if we go back in history, Sporting Kansas City has upset us in a lot of ways. I mean, they gave us our very first loss ever at the bank in 2018. Well, we thought we would have been undefeated at home. They certainly showed us. There were plenty of other games in which they upset us. But as of late, no, they haven't been able to take care of business. They're a team that's clearly transitioning from an old guard into what they obviously hope to be a newer guard. A team that has had a great deal of success under Peter Vermees, but for the most part, their personnel hasn't changed as much. You got Tim Melia, who's been in between the sticks for what seems like forever. Daniel Shallowy, who's been there since 2017. Johnny Russell, who's my favorite player in Sporting Kansas City since 2018. Sure, they had the likes of an Alan Polito, and sure, they had the likes of an Eric Tommy, but for the most part, an older team that probably needs newer ideas. Was their home finale this past weekend, and as we said in One More Sleep, they were handing out $10 free credits to anybody who had a Sporting account, $3 beers. So you could tell the environment was a little ruckus, but LAFC didn't really waste too much time in making blue hell feel like black and gold hell for the Cauldron at Sporting Kansas City.
Yeah, look, we're better than this club. This is a club that is playing out the string under a coach who may be coaching out the string. Maybe he sticks around as GM and fires himself as the coach. Maybe he fires himself as GM and sticks around as the coach. Maybe he decides after this season to Homer Simpson back into the hedges, and maybe that's it for Peter Vermees coaching his 600th match in all competitions for Sporting Kansas City. 600 matches. That is a lot of matches. Steve Cherundolo coaching in his 100th MLS regular season match, coming in with a record of 51, 27 losses, and 21 draws. Obviously tied for the second most wins all time through 100 matches with Tata Martino. Through 99 matches with Tata Martino. He would certainly add to that total and break the tie. So kudos to him. And it was nice, Philly, as we were watching the match, to have our good buddies, Mark Rogandino and Heath Pierce on the call. Always good to hear those guys. That was fun. Getting into the formations, because we've talked a whole damn lot about Sporting in the last 10, 12 days or so. Peter Vermees coming out in a Bob Bradley-esque 4-3-3. It'll be 4-3-3, damn it, until he dies. That is what Peter Vermees does. And again, his 600th match at the helm. But things got a little squirrely for Sporting Kansas City in warmups. Philly's former guy from NYCFC, Kyrie Shelton, picking up a calf injury in warmups, not in training, not during the week. We're talking 45 minutes before the match. And so that sent the lineup in a tizzy, if you will, for one. Peter Vermees still would have Tim Melia back there in between the pipes. And again, not a great season for Tim. And at 38 years old and out of contract, you just kind of have to wonder. I don't know how many times Rogo and Heath mentioned it on the call, but they have 18 players with either club options or who will be out of contract after the season. And so I think it'll be a full-blown rebuild. And that's why I think it might be it for Peter Vermees as coach. Maybe he decides to stick around as GM. I don't know. Goalkeeper, Tim Melia. The back line consisting of Logan and Denbe, Robert Veloter, making his MLS debut after playing plenty of matches in Spain, in La Liga and La Liga 2 with Real Valladolid. And also, by the way, 17 matches last year for Turkish team Trabzonspor would be Joaquin Fernandez, MLS debut for him, and Jake Davis on the back line, who was supposed to start in midfield. The midfield was Zoran Basong, Memo Rodriguez, and Remy Voltaire. And then the front line would be Stephen Afrifa, Alan Pulido, and Johnny Russell. The five we would see would be Eric Tommy, Willie Agata, Daniel Shallowy. Those are three names you've certainly heard of, as well as Robert Castellanos and Tim Leibold. That is your lineup for Sporting Philly. Another creative, fun, offensively dynamic lineup put out by Steve Cherundolo.
Just to mention one of the players on the Sporting Kansas City lineup. Every time I heard his name, all I could think of was the famous quote, "If God did not exist, it would be necessary to invent him." You know who that was by, Scarf?
I don't.
Voltaire. So anytime they said Remy Voltaire, which actually is spelled Walter, but that's how we could, troll him and just call him Walter. Every time I heard Voltaire, all I could think of was the French Parisian famous philosopher. So just waxing.
Well, yeah, we had Robert Veloter and Remy Voltaire. Between Veloter and Voltaire, there's a little Voltaire in both of them.
Yes, indeed. All right. So LAFC's lineup would bring out a serious lineup in between the sticks. Hugo Lloris, Aaron Long would be back, and welcome Aaron Long, wearing the captain's armband, and what a day he had in Sporting Kansas City. Maxime Chanot, Sergi Palencia. Moving up top, we would have Ryan Hollingshead, Timothy Tillman, Lewis O'Brien, and Kike Oliveira. Up all the way, your forwards, Denis Bouanga, Olivier Giroud, and David Martinez. A serious lineup that was there to give Sporting Kansas City a little bit of the how's your father. And so that would be your starting lineup. We'll talk about the subs that come in as they come in. Obviously, you've got the likes of Eddie Segura. You got the likes of Kai Kamara. You got the likes of Matty Bogusz. You got, people like that, personnel like that. And just hearing those names coming off the bench, thinking life is pretty good when you have Matty Bogusz coming off of the bench, one of the most lethal offensive weapons that we have on our side. But Scarf, let's get into things. It didn't really take too long for LAFC to get on the boards, but the way they scored, kind of a surprising and shocking moment for a lot of us.
No, for sure. Real quick, 1 minute ago, MLS Soccer reposting Austin FC parting ways with Josh Wolf. All right, that's an interesting one. No more Josh Wolf at the helm. All right,
long overdue, if you ask me.
We needed them to take care of business against Carson yesterday, and they at least equalized, but couldn't hold as Carson wins 2-1. More on that in a little bit. Yeah, look, we off to a great start, and all because of that right back that we have now playing at Kike Oliveira. A couple of good times down the wing, both in the second and the 5th minute, where LAFC could have had something. LAFC really allowing Sporting to possess in the first 15 minutes. But it didn't matter because as soon as Denis Bouanga got in the box, an absolutely brilliant chop on Jake Davis, who has been a Sporting Kansas City Academy product from a very young age. He chops Jake Davis, and Basong comes over to help. And by help, I mean sweep the leg, Johnny. Takes out Denis Bouanga. And Philly, 10 for 10 from the spot. So we know what's going to happen, of course, as Denis Bouanga steps up, has not missed a PK in his LAFC career until this match. Oh, my goodness, 10 for 11. But David Martinez in the right place at the right time, hammers it home, top bins Philly. And look, Denis Bouanga was all of us. If you watch just Denis, he first of all fired it right at Tim Melia. I don't love that ever, but he fires it right at Tim Melia. He's a little pissed, looks back, sees Denis strike it, and he immediately starts clapping and goes and heads on over to David Martinez for the celebration. It was so cool to see Denis Bouanga be all of us as we're watching, because of course we were like, oh no, yeah, all right, just as we planned it. David Martinez, Philly, 5 goal contributions on the year, the most ever by an 18-year-old in LAFC.
Yeah, the kid's unbelievable. And Denny eyeing goal number 20. Christian Benteke scored another one. And so Denny's hungry for goals. I've seen just some posts here and there on social media about Denny being a little too selfish. I mean, I get it, but he also does lead the team in assists, which at least goes to show you that he's passing the ball off to his teammates. But we know he's hungry to catch Christian Benteke. He literally told all of us that in the press conference. So it shouldn't be a surprise that he was gunning for it. But for him to go right down Main Street against an experienced keeper like Melia, maybe a little, but yeah, David Martinez slotted that sucker there. Nobody there to clear it out. He absolutely gunned it. Sporting Kansas City goes from elation to deflation relatively quickly. And I have to recognize the wife, Panda, for that. As she said that, I thought that's a really cool thing to say. Elation to deflation. I'm a fan of that. But if I didn't shout her out, she would kill me. I can't take credit for that one being my own. But LAFC 16-2-1 when scoring first. Sporting Kansas City 2-13-1 when conceding first. So that being said, everything is operating in our hands. Just a little shocking that Denis was not able to punch in a free kick, a penalty kick, but I would still trust him going forward over the likes of with all due respect, Carlos Vela.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The only person who I would want lining up at PKs other than Denis this season would be Kai Kamara.
Interesting. I'm getting a call from Compton, California. 310-747-5544. Is that any of the millions out there?
Focus. Philly, I think that if there is a match where you can look at Denis Bouanga and say how unselfish he was, it really was this match. I mean, several times where he's trying to set up his teammates, one time where he actually does succeed, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I really think that all of those selfish talks about Denis Bouanga, yeah, of course. I mean, come on. He wants to get to 20 goals. He wants to get to 23 to catch Christian Benteke. But what he's continuing to do, despite being our absolute and unquestioned goal scorer on the club, he continues to help set up his teammates, which we will certainly talk about in a little bit. Did not love the yellow card tackle by Timothy Tillman. He was likely upset because of what he thought was a no call, but it was Memo Rodriguez who was whistled for the yellow. The referee just allowed a play on. So 2 yellows for the price of 1. I just think that's an area where LAFC needs to be a little smarter heading towards playoffs. Some of these yellows, middle of the park, early in matches, 25th minute, it's just something that we didn't need. The question in the chat, Denis Bouanga was 10 for 10 before that penalty shot. And Philly, the best chance for Sporting in the entire first half really came in the 34th minute by your boy, Johnny Russell.
Johnny Scotch, baby, on the run in what could be his final game wearing a Sporting Kansas City kit. He's out of contract. He's also a little longer in the tooth, but still a pretty good Major League Soccer player. I hate to see him go completely from this league because I think he offers a lot in terms of skill, more importantly, leadership. But he found a nice way to free himself up, created that space. He just didn't have enough mustard behind that shot. An easy save for Hugo Lloris to make. Only threatening opportunity, really, but we're lucky that he didn't get the proper end of that. If you go back to watch highlights of our game at BMO Stadium, we saw him fire a rocket from 30-plus yards out of the box. Away from goal, rather, not out of the box, because then that would make it a lot further. But Johnny Russell, a dangerous player. It's not a dangerous attempt in the 34th minute.
Yeah, kudos to him, by the way, walking out with one of the kids from the Make-A-Wish Foundation in his kilt, which was pretty great. No kudos to the Sporting Kansas City fan not paying attention in the second row. That poor kid got a taste of his first beer, whether he wanted it or not. It absolutely just exploded onto the kid in front. I guess the mom was cool with it. So, she wasn't too upset, but she actually scolded him for having his feet up on like the stadium railing there. She said, "Put your feet down," and then tried to clean him off. But
a Midwestern mom for you.
44th minute, he smelled like everybody in the North End after a good match from LAFC. That's for sure. And then Philly, what I love about this goal in stoppage time is that it was actually Kike Oliveira who started the whole thing by breaking up the play in the middle of the pitch and finding Timothy Tillman, who does everything he needs to do up the left-hand side to find Denis. And again, we talked about it. Denis, unselfish in this match. He could have taken it 1v1 right at his defender, right at Tim Melia. But instead, as we've seen him do over and over again, mostly with Matty Bogusz this season, Philly, but now with Kike Oliveira, he slots home a perfect touch. And I want to know the sandwich that Kike Oliveira made while he was waiting in the box. He took a touch. I saw him. He broke out a little picnic basket, made a sandwich. He took a bite of it, and then slotted that goal home. Probably the easiest goal, Philly, that we'll see Kike Oliveira score all season.
But it's times like that you kind of sit there and gasp, because that could have been one of the biggest blunders too. We've seen gaffes like that. Anybody watching the sport for longer than 5 minutes has seen plays where goal wide open, easy opportunity, just get the wrong side of the foot because of waiting too long. You're right. He brought out his picnic basket. He sat down next to his friend Yogi Bear and Boo Boo, filed his nails, and then punched it home. Wide open. He was completely wide open. It was a great attempt by Melia to kind of deflect maybe Denis Bouanga's cross in, but nobody else was there. Then he gets his 11th dime of the regular season, and that's a single season career high for him. I think he had maybe 8 last season, but from what I read in terms of statistics, he's never collected more than 6 assists, even throughout his time playing in France's top flight and Liga 2. No, that's not how you say 2 in French.
Liga 2.
Yes, yeah, look at more like Dookie, because that was exactly what happened to Tim Melia. But Denis Bouanga gets the dime. Kike Oliveira gets the goal. Another goal for the young Uruguayan. And going into the half, pretty darn good for us. 6 goal for Kike. And look, we had a really solid half. 7 shots, 3 of them being on target. We converted 2 of them. 2 out of the 3, that for you math folks out there, that's 66.66% of the time. We converted all of the time. And that's once again just operating, letting them control possession, quickly beating them on the counter, being as efficient as we could. Sporting Kansas City had no threatening opportunities other than the Johnny Russell attempt in the 34th minute, which is reflective of their XG, as they had a spot 2.7 on that. We nearly 3. And honestly, we probably should have had 3. The game is going to really fall in our favor. And while it might have looked like a lopsided game, Sporting Kansas City is really lucky to have not lost by 5.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Kudos, by the way, to Denis Bouanga, his 30th goal contribution of the MLS regular season, 19 goals, 11 assists. He's the second player ever in LAFC history, obviously behind Carlos's 49 goal contributions in 2019 to get to 30 for LAFC. Daniel Shalhoub would come on at the half, among others, for Sporting, and it really wouldn't make a bit of difference. Loved the effort from Timothy Tillman to Kike Oliveira, and his low cross just missed Olivier Giroud. I wonder, man, first of all, a year or 2 ago, Olivier Giroud taps that home, no problem. Maybe he gets to the ball. Also, Denis Bouanga was right behind him, racing in, and would have had an easy tap in for goal as well. But LAFC clearly, Philly, up 2-0 and not taking their foot off the pedal. And your boy comes in the 60th minute, a player that we both worry about every time he sees the pitch, on for Remy Voltaire. That would be Eric Tommy.
Yep, the German, who is one of Sporting Kansas City's most magnificent players. He would get a shot 6 minutes off getting into the game, which obviously clearly shows you how offensive-minded he is. We would have our own subs in the 62nd with Matty Bogusz coming in for David Martinez, the youngster doing big things. And I said this. I think I even said it on Kicking It in the Reel with Andy. I think Carlos Vela's mere presence has been something that has upped the ante for David Martinez, because ever since Carlos made his announcement coming back, kid's been scoring goals, man. Kid's been scoring goals, which is absolutely fantastic. That's exactly what we need of him. And for him to be that successful at such a young age, we've seen plenty of youngsters his age and maybe even older that have not had the type of success that he's had. I would rather play the likes of a David Martinez over the likes of a Brian Rodriguez up top any day of the week. I get it. They might line up on different sides, but Martinez proven to be all that he's hyped up to be. 67th minute. We did have there was a nice buildup. Missed chance for LAFC to make it 3, but nothing would happen there. I think Kike probably, and I saw this in the chat and I completely agree, Kike probably should have been a little more selfish on that attempt right there. He easily would have slotted home his brace. That goes back to 2018 season when we would get so angry at Marco Urena for doing the same thing, giving an opportunity to score a clear one. But it really should have been the third goal right there.
Yeah, and Philly, you think about how offensively minded this lineup is with both Sergi Palencia and Kike Oliveira on one side. Now that you've got Matty Bogusz in there as well, and of course all the other weaponry we have up top with Denis Bouanga and Ryan Hollingshead. So of course it's Aaron flipping Long in the 69th minute. We got a giggity goal, and it's the captain wearing the captain's armband in the match. Aaron Long deciding he's going top bins. Nobody around him. He turned around and said, okay, I'll put one on my right foot. And an absolutely beautiful goal. 73 appearances for LAFC in his black and gold career. His first ever goal for the club. He had 14 goals in 175 appearances with Red Bulls and 3 goals in 35 U.S. men's national team caps, but none in his first 72. Philly looking like a striker in the middle of the box. You know what? Sometimes you can't leave players open.
I mean, it was a hell of a goal, man. I mean, we don't see that many forwards in Major League Soccer score a beauty like Aaron Long did, but not bad. We know he had plenty of time to relax and recover, so maybe that's all he needed was the break, because he went in, went right, smashed it upper right corner, and it was a tremendous goal. A great way to get back into the flow of things and a great way to get going. Wearing the captain's armband clearly was a good thing for Aaron Long. Gave him the confidence, and it couldn't have come any better. Oak Hills, California native, UC Riverside Highlander, who was there for a number of years. And, man, what a welcome back goal for Aaron Long.
Yeah, stoked for Aaron Long. Ruben Rios mentioning he didn't look happy in the presser. That was interesting. I agree. Not sure why, but he had a hell of a game. He has been, I've mentioned this before, as good as it needs to be at center back for LAFC this season. He has just been that steadying force. We've got, a little bit of up and down play at times from Maxime Chanot, obviously Jesus Murillo. Eddie Segura has been hit and miss, but Aaron Long just seems to be one of those players that you can almost set it and forget it, plug and play. He is just excellent back there on the line. Ilie would come on for Timothy Tillman. Marlon would come on for Olivier Giroud as we get a little bit more of a defensive shape out there. And honestly, yellow card for Kike Oliveira in the 79th minute. So Kai Kamara comes in for him in the 80th. We did have some excellent opportunities late, but I do want to mention, Philly, the chance in the 81st minute. And your boy, Eric Tommy, almost gets to us yet again.
Oh, sorry. I was just responding to Hector Lugo 68 in the chat. Scarf, take this one as I can't multitask.
No problem. The best opportunity for Sporting Kansas City in the match would come in the 81st minute as Daniel Shallowy goes down the left looking for Eric Tommy with a great cross in. Tommy runs absolutely by Eddie Segura, and Segura puts his hand up afterwards and says, my bad. We know. We saw the play. Eric Tommy banging it off the outside post, outside far post, and that would be the best chance that they get through their 90th minutes. 90 minutes. I was excited, Philly, because we almost had a scarf goal in the 83rd minute, but Matty Bogusz was offside. And then LAFC called offside again in the 86th minute as Denis Bouanga just offside before the cross from Sergi Palencia. But again, Denis being unselfish, taps it over to Matty Bogusz, and Matty with a little tink tap in, but it doesn't count, unfortunately. And then I liked, by the way, Marlon getting into the act in the 89th minute on that little corner kick. He's back post. Marlon heads it on goal, and Melia has to kind of pop it up for a corner kick. Nicely done by Marlon. We haven't seen him get involved offensively at all until that play.
Yeah, I mean, he's aggressive.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of worries me is I hope he's not too aggressive when play and action develops in the box. That would obviously lead to a tragedy for us. But guy's hard-nosed, tough. I absolutely like it. Wow, Omar Marmoush just scored for Frankfurt. It's 3-3. Sorry, there's a lot going on right now in this morning. A lot of updates, a lot of this, a lot of that. But I liked Marlon. Did you touch upon Kai Kamara coming in, by the way?
I did.
Did you talk about his history at Sporting Kansas City?
I mean, if we want to go over it, he played a lot of matches.
We were just anticipating 5 years, 113 games, 38 goals for Kai. A nice round of applause as he popped onto the pitch. A U.S. Open Cup winner. And I think Heath and Rogo said it best themselves. At this point, it'd be you got to find the teams that he hasn't played for, because Kai's really been around Major League Soccer. But it was nice. People in the Midwest are classy in a lot of ways, not all of them, but it was nice for them to receive Kai Kamara in the way that they did. Look, Matty did find the back of the net, almost missed the back of the net, actually did miss the back of the net, but offside twice. Look, that's really it. That's really it, Scarf. I mean, we've won our
fourth. Let's not forget about Ilie. He got a little love from them as well. Ilie spending a lot of time in Sporting. I think 5 years for them as well. So
just to think that, when Peter Vermees let him go, Ilie was used in a lot of ways. I mean, when Ilie was last on Sporting Kansas City, I mean, they had a season in which everybody was hurt. Ilie, as we all know, predominantly a midfielder. He had to play defender a lot for Peter Vermees' side. So they thought, and we thought, no, we didn't think, but the wheels didn't go off the axles with Ilie, because he comes through to LAFC and heck, wins an MLS Cup, wins a U.S. Open Cup, goes to several finals. So clearly there's a lot left in the tank. Had he sat and finished off his career at Sporting Kansas City, we might have never been the wiser, but goes to show you how a completely brand new environment, new coaching staff, new teammates can rejuvenate a player. Because Ilie did take a beating in his last season playing for Sporting Kansas City.
And Philly, who knows? We may never win MLS Cup. It was Ilie that slotted home that last PK for us in MLS Cup final, the incredible final that, of course, none of us will ever forget in 2022. Look, he was Philly. You would love this, right? He was a typical buy low kind of guy, and we absolutely were able to get him for a very low cost, and he has paid incredible dividends. I sound like Philly right now. So LAFC clinching home field for the first round of the playoffs. And why that's so big is because it's that stupid best of 3 series that MLS likes to do. So we have home field in the best of 3. The nice part is we can finish no lower than 4th in the regular season now. More on the table in just a second. But Philly, we mentioned Tyler Miller's 10 clean sheets in the 2018 season. That is no longer the record.
Yeah, Hugo Lloris sets the single season record, which is pretty cool, man. I mean, he's had a lot of help. I would argue that we've had the better back line this past season,
certainly,
probably than we've ever had. And maybe that's, more of a praise on Tyler Miller than anything else. But I would take Hugo Lloris over Tyler Miller any day of the week. Was it you who's saying that he was trying to make a run? Swansea was interested in him. I don't know why.
Swansea had put a feeler out for Tyler Miller.
Yeah, well, take that feel away. But for Hugo Lloris, nearly 40 years of age, still doing his thing. He had that one play, I think it was within the first half, where he sort of tapped it to himself. He played a little bit of volleyball to himself, but I mean, he's been a solid keeper for us in terms of his shot-stopping prowess, in terms of his ability to distribute. He's got himself 3 assists on the season, something he never had throughout his entire career playing club. So good stuff out of Hugo Lloris, good stuff out of LAFC. We win yet again, 17-8-7 now on the season, 58 points, 17 wins. Is third in terms of club history, defenders. It was 21 wins in 2019. It was 21 wins as well in 2022. So here we are, our 7th road win as well of the season, 4th time in 7 years that we've done that. So this isn't the season, we got a little down on ourselves at one point recently. Yeah. But when you start going through all of these statistics, you start to realize, I don't know what I've been so down about, because these numbers are on par with some of the greatest seasons in this club's history. Granted, we haven't had that many, but still, it is up there. Steve gets his 100th MLS regular season match as LAFC head coach, and in his time, 177 points. Steve, in his first 100 games, now ranks third all-time in MLS history that way. 52 wins in his first 100 games, second best total in league history. So that's a little fun stat for you Dolo out peeps.
Yeah, and look, LAFC now with the unconventional 8-day break. 8 days between now and our next match. After playing 8 matches in 29 days, we won't play one for another week. This is huge. Vancouver, at Vancouver, October 13th. That's Sunday, October 13th at 4:30 p.m. Let's talk about the table real quick. Yes, Carson held serve. They remain 6 points up. So the bottom line is, if Carson either draws or wins in their final match, which is against the Houston Dynamo in 13 days, if Carson wins or draws, they clinch the West. But if Houston can somehow find a way to upset Carson at home, then we look towards the Western Conference conference first place spot. We need to win out. That's the bottom line. We need to win out. Those 6 points. Yeah, those 6 points would put us level at 64. But I want to remind everybody, if we win out and they lose, we'd be tied on the first tiebreaker, 19 wins. So it all comes down to goal differential. Yep. And at that point, we would, by winning those 2 matches and Carson losing, we would have to overtake them. We closed the gap by 2 in our last match. It is now 20-17 on goal differential. So we win our next 2 matches. You got to think we would do it by more than 2 total. And Carson loses, they'd have to lose by 1. But let's say we win both of these matches by 1 goal apiece, and Carson loses by 1 goal. Now we're tied on goal differential. So it's all about goals for, and this is where it might be trouble. Carson has scored 10 more goals than we have on the season. So over these next 2 matches, we have to outscore Carson by 10 or 11 just to be able to have that tiebreaker. So it's got to be it's got to be that second tiebreaker. It's got to be goal differential. If we're winning, we got to win big. It doesn't matter if we win 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, but we need these big wins. And I predicted Hugo Lloris would have 2 more clean sheets over the last 3 matches. He got 1 already. The only club, Philly, that we really need to look at is Seattle. Okay, let's talk real quick, because Seattle and RSL both tied on 56 points in 33 matches, but RSL has fewer wins. So they can't technically catch us if we have 1 point over our next 2 matches. 1 point. LAFC will secure 3rd place with a draw over our next 2, and with a win or a draw, 2 draws, then we secure 2nd place. So not too worried about it. We just need the 1 point for sure over these next 2 matches to secure 2nd, as far as I'm concerned.
So what you're saying is the probability of us going to the 4th tiebreaker, which is fewest disciplinary points per match, is unlikely.
Yeah, very unlikely. And then I would have to do a whole deep dive on what the hell disciplinary points are.
Then we got that. And then we got away goals differential. Then we got away goals for, then home goals diff, then home goals for. Then if you ever get to the 9th tiebreaker, I don't know. I'd have to go back and see in Major League Soccer history whether that's the case. After everything we had just mentioned, 8 forms of a tiebreaker, 9, a coin toss. The tie of 2 clubs or a drawing of lots. Tie of 3 or more. It's a coin toss as the 9th tiebreaker. There's got to be somebody out there who might know if we ever went down to the 9th tiebreaker. Highly unlikely, but it's still a possibility. Not for us.
We do have San Jose at home. We do have San Jose at home, right? The chat is saying That could be a 2-0, 3-0, 4-0. I think
Easy.
Ruben is predicting 11-0. So good on Ruben for that one. I hope he's right. No, but look, it doesn't matter if we don't take care of business, right? So let's do this, LAFC faithful, black and gold. Let's just do this. Let's take a break for about a week. Let's head up to Vancouver and let's take care of damn business in Canada so that when it comes down to decision day, Philly and I can recap all the different permutations, all the different possibilities. But once we win in Vancouver, it slots away second place for us in the West, no matter what. So we don't have to worry about it. Then we can look at those 3 tiebreakers, see where we are at, and there we go.
It's real quick. I happened to click on the San Jose Earthquakes part of the standings, and there's a section in there that says what we've learned from their 2024 season. And the first sentence in here is, and I quote, "Everything is a disaster, frankly." We can't talk about next year because I don't know if I'm going to be here next year. I don't know if some of the guys in the locker room will be here. I believe that was Jeremy Abobasi who said that. Everything is a disaster, frankly. Quite the motto for the San Jose Earthquakes.
Yeah, who knows what that club is going to look like on decision day. We might see the academy.
Maybe they'll be moving to Sacramento as well.
Yeah, we might see the academy roll out there. I don't know. By the way, I didn't realize this, but Josh Wolf's record, 45 wins, 60 losses, and 30 draws. He had that one good match against us, and that was probably about it for Josh
That was
Wolf.
really the dismantling of it, because after that, I mean, I feel like once we beat Austin in the Western Conference Finals in 2022, it was just a downward dissension for them. I mean, they had a really good inaugural year. They were actually okay. But after that Western Conference Final, like everything, they just had bad juju the rest of Josh Wolf's tenure. And it's fitting that they finally, fired him. Perfect time, I suppose. Give an interim coach one more game. I think they still have one more game left and figure it out in the offseason. Again, this is just another example of how a brand new club, how things can possibly go. I mean, Atlanta United was successful, but they haven't done diddly squat really in quite some time. Austin was semi-successful, hadn't really done anything. St. Louis hadn't really done anything. FC Cincinnati has been pretty good. And then look at us. Without a doubt, the most successful out of all the brand new expansion clubs. So, we got it made. Defenders, we really need to thank our luck, not our luck, but we have good ownership. We have a great front office that plays chess when everybody plays checkers. We got great personnel. I mean, look at what we've accomplished. Look at what we've done. Look at what we've conquered in a very short period of time. So for anybody who lifts their nose at us and thinks we're a small club, or we're losing another finals club or anything like that, check out our track record, man. Compared to everybody else that came roughly right around that time period, and even before, we've been pretty damn good in our entire existence, with the exception of that one season where we lost to the Rapids on decision day, which is a day, by the way, Scarf, I'll never forget. I've never been so happy on a decision day the way we were when we saw the Galaxy lost on the final day of the season and not making the postseason as well. It's me, you, Vince, Connor in a suite after we just did 110 football. Rest in peace, 110 football. Well, those are the days, not necessarily the season, but those are the days.
Just real quick, and again, we've told this story a couple times, but we were up in the media booth and watching the final few minutes of that Carson match when Carson definitely let it go in the last few minutes, so they're knocked out of playoffs. And we're screaming, we're going nuts in this little booth, and all of the Rapids players are still on the pitch, like they're still celebrating. And Mark Anthony Kay and others look up at us like, "What the hell are you guys celebrating up there in the box? You guys just lost." And all we yelled out was, "Galaxy just got eliminated from the playoffs." And I remember Mark Anthony Kay just going, "Yeah." Like he gave a little fist bump, and it was pretty great, man. That was pretty cool.
I forgot about that part.
Yeah,
that's good.
It was good times, man. It's good times. Look, this has been it's been a fun season. We'll talk about some awards predictions, maybe some best 11 predictions as we get through a little bit closer to decision day. But other than that, I know a lot of you guys want to go watch American football. A lot of you guys want to go watch the rest of Bundesliga and all the other fun stuff going on today. Philly's finally got a quarterback, if that's what you can call Huntley. And I think we're pretty much good for the day.
He still has Tyreek Hill to throw to, so that's pretty good weapon.
It's true. It's true.
Don't jinx me. Leave me
Hopefully,
alone.
you're not playing against Tyreek Hill today, though.
Yeah, good point. I don't know.
All right,
I've barely
y'all. Hey, this
woken
is
up.
episode 332. Philly, crazy enough. Next episode, we're 1/3 of the way to 1,000.
Didn't you say that last pod?
I did. We're close.
Well, we got some time to go. Look, I mean, how many one more sleeps have we got? We're definitely over 400.
Yeah.
With all the one more sleeps. I mean, how many games have we played this season? 32? Times that by 2 at the very least with the one more sleeps. Yeah, we're well over 400. Maybe even closer to 5. Who knows? Anyway, I'm done. I need another cup of coffee. Otherwise, I'm going to fall flat on this keyboard.
Bye-bye.
Bye.